Jonté, how we doing?
Jonté is doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for speaking with me. Amazon, regular heroes, but he's far from regular, y'all. Far from regular, y'all. They call him the kitchen chemist. We got the microwave back there. We have the stove back there. You got the spatulas and the soap dispenser back there. You're cooking up something special this year for your students, okay? But you were out of the classroom for a year and a half. What did it feel like going back this school year?
Oh man, it was strange going back this school year. And because it's like using muscles I haven't used in almost two years. So it's getting back into the groove of things. Those little nuances that came second nature, I had to relearn. But the positive thing is I get to see my students face to face. I get to interact with them. I get to laugh with them. And also we get to learn from each other.
So transitioning from virtual to in person again, what
Yeah.
was that transition like for you and how did it feel?
Oh man, that it was a transition, not only for me, but my students and parents, and also my colleagues. That we were, it was strange that because we were all happy to be back, we were happy to see each other, but it was also strange, and because we had to relearn how to do certain things in the classroom now that we are face to face. Students had to relearn how to be students inside of a classroom. So what it was areas of growth and areas of great learning.
But we're talking about STEM. We're talking about you're a chemistry and physics teacher. When you say relearning these steps, these problems, these formulas, how do you reteach? How do you bring kids back to where they were a year and a half ago when we're talking about the periodic table, for example?
So it takes patience, it takes time. And that because we are all relearning how to be in-person students and how to be in-person teachers. The foundation is still there, but it takes time to adjust to a new surrounding. So it takes time, patience, and self-compassion.
Wow. Wow. Let's talk about some of that self-compassion. What were you seeing from these students over a year and a half of virtual learning and being their teacher, but not being able to be there with them physically? What were some of the struggles that they face?
Well, that I'm noticing now is that when students, they are afraid to take risks. And because when you are online, you are able to take risks, and because you are isolated and you don't see if other people are looking at you, if other people are making faces, or your peers reaction. And so it's getting students to take risks, not being afraid to make mistakes, not being afraid to raise their hand, and just be courageous when trying to solve a problem. So that's the main thing that I am seeing now that we are back face to face. I'm going to poke it.
And we are talking about Calvin Coolidge Senior High School in Washington, D.C. So the demographic of these children are Black, are
Yeah.
minority students, mostly people of color. And we're talking about STEM as well. How important is it for you as a Black male teacher to be teaching science, technology, and those sorts of subjects to Black students?
The research does show students' success rate is an increase in when they see someone that looks like them. Any way that I could be a positive role model, I mean, for students of color, but for any student, that is my dream, that is my motivation. And so by me being a person of color and that I can relate to some of their stories, to their childhoods, some of the things that they are going through now, that makes the learning more accessible. And plus also it makes the lessons more readily received by the students. Wow, you had pancakes, eggs, sausage, bacon for breakfast this morning?
And something I've
And you didn't
talked
bring that
to
for the class?
about with a
Come on.
lot of teachers over the past year and a
Well,
half
it's great to
now
see
through
that
the
everyone
pandemic
is
is the
having a great
difficulty
morning
to
and that you
even
all had a great
teach a lesson, to have
evening.
a good lesson as a teacher through Zoom and through hybrid learning. In March of 2020, your principal called you and
Yeah.
told you what?
She said, I need you to do a demonstration. I need you to teach a lesson. I'm like, on what? And that because I am also a science teacher coach. I'm like, do you need me to do professional development, a physics lesson, chemistry? I'm like, what am I doing? She said, I want you to do a science lesson over Instagram. This is a chemical reaction. So what is happening? And so that's how all of this started. And because that we use social media, something our students are constantly on, as a way to get the content across.
Wow. So we talking about IG Mr. Lee now. We're not talking about just a chemistry teacher, a physics teacher at Coolidge. We're talking about IG Mr. Lee, because you really took off with this kitchen chemist persona. What was that like?
It was fun that I was able to be a community teacher that is not bound by the four walls of my classroom. I was able to reach other students from San Francisco to Boston. I was also able to collaborate with other teachers. And so it really is a great experience. And because I know that I am not in this alone, and it's going to take all of us to push our students forward academically.
What's some of the feedback that you got from students, not just your own and here in Washington, D.C., but also in San Francisco to Boston to everywhere in between?
Oh man, some students are calling me their teacher. They tell me, thank you for doing what you are doing. It's really engaging. It's fun. Thank you for being someone who looks like me. So the feedback has been positive and completely overwhelming.
And that feedback turned into some pretty huge awards, accolades, and recognition for you.
Yes.
What has been the craziest, most rewarding experience of this last year and a half?
The most rewarding thing was I had an opportunity to meet my second grade teacher, and she made me feel safe, smart, capable. And so through all of that, they were able to connect me. Amazon Prime was able to connect me to my second grade teacher. And that was an amazing experience. And that because the one that put me on this path, I am now seeing face to face, and I have not seen her in decades. And so that was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can only imagine when we talk about down the line, when they see Mr. IG Lee once again, they'll have the same reaction that you had to your second grade teacher. It hasn't always been roses, though, during the pandemic. There's been a lot of loss. There's been a lot of struggles. What did you face as a teacher?
The main thing is that the teacher's face is not knowing if our students are okay. And because sometimes they did not turn on their camera and we couldn't see them. Sometimes they didn't come on mic, and so we can't hear certain things in their voice. If they are in distress or if they're happy or if something going on. So that was the main thing for us, is how are our students doing? Are they okay?
What would happen if they weren't okay?
Well, that we would reach out. We have wraparound services. I would reach out to the counselor, to the social worker, to the school psychologist, to our resource center. I mean, anything that our students needed, that DC has resources for. And so it's just a matter of reaching out to them and making that connection.
It may be obvious to most people, but why do you reach out and continue to go and bend over backwards for these students during the pandemic?
Because this is what teachers do. This is what we do. Students are our main priority. Their safety is our main priority. Their education is our main priority. It's on what we do. It's who we are.
Wow. That's well said. Thank you so much for prioritizing and the safety and the mental health and the health of these students. Last year, I spoke with the 2021 DC Teacher of the Year, Alejandro Diaz Granados, and he was telling me that teaching can be a thankless job and we should thank our teachers more. You talked about your second grade teacher, but who are some of your inspirations right now?
My college professors, Dr. Danny Acosta, Dr. Gary Howard, Dr. Martha Gumpert, they instilled in me rigor, discipline, never giving up, not being afraid to tackle a challenge. They also pushed me mentally that more than I have ever been pushed, because learning is a process and they made me take it seriously. So they show up in my classroom every single day.
Wow. So thank you so much for showing up, Mr. Lee. You know, Calvin Coolidge, chemistry and physics teacher. You about to cook something up for us? I'm gonna let you go here now, but I really do thank you and I appreciate you. As always, my special guest, Mr. Jonté Lee at Calvin Coolidge Senior High School, Uptown with it. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave us with?
It's just that, remember, you may not be on Good Morning America or in People Magazine, but just know, everyone, you are a hero to someone.
Wow. Thank you for being a hero to these kids.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.